Hey everyone! Today I'm sharing with you something that completely changed the way I relate to others. It's called the NLP communication model. I had always believed that I was an articulate and resourceful communicator, and it wasn't until the last few years that I realized I'd been fundamentally missing the point. It actually doesn't matter how articulate you are or how clear your intentions, because the measure of effective communication is whether the message is received. This model's provided me with a framework to understand how to motivate, communicate, and connect with others, and it's helped me to take my own relationship to the next level by giving me a map for communicating with and understanding myself and my partner. Imagine that in every second you are receiving 2 million bytes of information from the external world. You receive that information through your 5 senses: taste, smell, touch, sight, and sound. Let's put that in perspective. Hold out your right hand and imagine that I'm handing you 1 piece of Lego per second. Now imagine that I'm handing you 2 million pieces per second. Too much, yes? Well, your brain feels the same way. According to Hungarian psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi in his book Flow, our brain is capable of managing 134 bytes per second. So of those 2 million pieces of Lego, we only have conscious awareness of 134. So how do we decide which ones to keep? In order to bring our awareness to the important Lego, our brain applies a series of filters or cognitive mechanisms to identify which bytes we use as the building blocks for our internal Lego kingdom. All the other Lego is filtered out by deleting, distorting, and generalizing information according to the settings of those filters. Deletion occurs when we selectively pay attention to certain aspects of our experience and ignore others. For example, in this moment, you may not have noticed the temperature in the room, or the sensation of your feet on the floor, or the sound of the traffic. Those bytes of Lego are deleted as your brain prioritizes amazing and magical Lego, like the sound of my voice and the pictures in this video. Distortion occurs when we transform or interpret Lego bytes in some way before we incorporate them into our internal Lego kingdom. I was in my early 30s before I realized that Tom Petty wasn't singing "I Walk Back Down." Totally changed the meaning of that song, because my internal Lego world had to change as a result of discovering that distortion. Generalization occurs when we take one byte or a cluster of bytes of Lego and create a rule that we apply to many other events. An example would be the time I trod on that blue piece of Lego. I generalized, and now I believe that all blue Lego hurts. Blue Lego is spikier than the other colors. Sometimes I see other people with cool blue Lego, but I know that it wouldn't work for me. These 3 mechanisms are constantly working together to help you make sense of the things that happen around you. The DDGs are powered by the filters that decide which Lego makes it through. In turn, the filters are strengthened by the DDGs. The more blue Lego I tread on, the more I delete the cool blue Lego, distort blue Lego as being hurtful, and am convinced that I will never find true blue Lego. So what are the filters? The kinds of things that filter our Lego bytes are language, the specific words or patterns of grammar that we use, memories from our lived experience and education, decisions we've made, both in our past and in our present, the values and beliefs that we have as a result of those, and our meta programs, unconscious filters to our perception that help us to sort the Lego bytes. What that means is that at any moment, we are only experiencing our own internal Lego kingdom, which is built from a tiny number of the total available blocks and is only ever a limited replica of the true external experience. That explains why two people can remember and interpret the exact same event in a completely different way. We've created most of our filters between the time that we're born and the age of 7. During that time, our parents teach us about the way that they've built their own Lego kingdoms, and we learn to build our kingdoms from that blueprint. As the Lego moves through the filters, our brain makes sense of it by grouping the bytes into categories, or chunks. Now, the sorters in our Lego kingdom can only concentrate on 7 categories or chunks at a time. Well, it's 7 plus or minus 2. Some kingdoms have sorters that can manage 9 chunks, some can only manage 5. They group the 134 bytes of Lego into these 7 chunks, which we then use to build our current picture of the world. We gaze on our internal kingdom, which leads to a feeling, then a change in our physiology, our bodies, and finally leads to our actions and behavior. This is the reason that you must separate actions from intentions, because it's the internal kingdom that governs the behavior. So how does this apply to our world? Think back to when you learned to drive. The sorters had 7 chunks which they allocated to using the accelerator, watching the road, indicating at corners, remembering your destination, using the brakes, steering the car, and using the clutch. This was new for them, and it required all their awareness to notice the right Lego bytes as they received them. Now imagine it starts to rain. Suddenly there's one more category of Legos to sort for, which takes you to 8. And suddenly you start to miss some of the important bytes that you were already looking for. As the sorters gained familiarity with this type of experience, they began to combine categories or chunks and become more efficient. So accelerator plus brake plus clutch became one chunk allocated to the speed of the car and no longer required individual awareness for each element. Now you can receive more Lego bytes and add complexity and understanding to your internal kingdom for the activity of driving. That means after many years of driving, you're able to simultaneously steer, navigate, keep position, maintain spatial awareness, sing, drink coffee, and give a running commentary on other drivers. Now we arrive at the power of the NLP communication model. This understanding of the way you are creating your internal world unlocks your ability to choose the filters that you want to use and to understand the way that your partner builds their internal world. And that in turn is the key to externally actualizing your kingdom. What that means is that you are in charge. Sometimes we can inherit or learn filters that stop us from getting the quality of building blocks for the world that we want to build. Your experience of the world is limited by accepting filters based on the language, memories, decisions, values, and metaprograms from someone else's life. It means that you end up building a kingdom that is fundamentally the same as theirs. So what does that mean for your relationship? You must understand that your shared kingdom is built in exactly the same way that you build your own, only the scale is magnified. In this series of videos, we'll unpack each of the filters and learn how to identify and choose building blocks that support you to create the kingdom that you dream of. We'll look at the language, decisions, values, memories, and metaprograms for success in love and life, and discuss the way to appropriately manage those that are currently sabotaging your results. If you'd like to request or vote for a particular topic, head over to my blog on Patreon, and if you found this helpful and want more, please become a patron and contribute $1 to help produce a higher quality and quantity of articles, videos, interviews, podcasts, and other amazing things.